Airport travel, it can be exciting, stressful, frustrating, and in many cases, downright scandalous. There's no doubt that choosing the right airline is crucial to ensuring your travels go smoothly. So, you might want to avoid some of these, which have faced some positively crazy situations caused by their crew, passengers, or in many cases, a combination of both. So let's take a trip down memory lane or plane on the 10 most shocking airline scandals of all time. Number 10. A woman accuses United of killing her dog. In February of 2017, on what should have been a routine United Airlines trip from Michigan to Oregon, Kathleen and her family put their dog, 7-year-old golden retriever Jacob, in a crate, and the airline assured them beforehand that the crate would fit on both of the 2 flights that they needed to get home. Well, guess what? Turns out the crate didn't fit on the second flight, so poor Jacob had to wait 20 hours in storage and developed gastric dilatation and volvulus syndrome, which causes dogs' stomachs to dilate and expand. Sadly, Jacob died just a few hours after being united with his family. It's a very tragic incident and hopefully one that will be avoided in the future. Number 9. The bathroom fee. Believe it or not, Ryanair is actually Europe's largest airline by passenger numbers and is known for being a pretty affordable airline and uses lots of, shall we say, creative ways of cutting cost, like charging for all baggage and even for printing a boarding pass. But none of these cost-cutting methods compares to the idea they wanted to implement in 2010, a bathroom fee. Yep, they wanted to charge either €1 or £1 to use the toilet for flights lasting 1 hour or less. Thankfully, there was such a backlash from the public and consumer rights groups that CEO Michael O'Leary decided it was probably best not to go through with it, and many passengers breathed a sigh of relief. Number 8. The stealing baggage handlers. In 2015, the airline world was rocked by a CNN study that reported that between 2010 and 2014, approximately $2.5 million worth of goods went missing from U.S. airports. Most of the stolen goods were taken from checked luggage, but some even went missing from security checkpoints. But the most shocking part of the scandal was captured by a hidden camera at Miami International, which caught baggage handlers in the act of rifling through baggage and then pocketing items, corroborating what was suspected all along. Despite the footage shedding a spotlight on the scandal, unfortunately, the trend still continues throughout airports around the globe. Number 7. EasyJet rejects a passenger because of their tweet. In 2013, a law lecturer named Mark Leiser was booked on a 9:20 p.m. flight from Glasgow to London, but it got delayed for 90 minutes. Concerned that he would miss his connection and that he and his fellow passenger, a soldier, might be unable to find train service once they finally landed, he tweeted the following: "Flight delayed 90 minutes, soldier going to miss last connection." A pretty reasonable complaint, right? Well, EasyJet didn't think so, and when he went to board, Leiser said he was picked out of line and refused service. And even more shockingly, was warned that he should know better than to send tweets like that and think you can still get a flight. It was only after he revealed his legal background that they finally allowed him to board. Wow. Number 6. The passenger weigh-in. Yes, Ryanair again, and another failed scheme from 2009 this time, charging a fat tax to, quote, very large passengers. Fortunately, this idea never made it off the ground, like many of their plans, but it's sad that it was a serious consideration. But it's no secret that in recent years, many airlines have considered implementing the policy, advocating for it due to weight distribution as a requirement for flight safety. Let me know where you guys stand on this potential future policy. Number 5. British Airways IT failure. Shockingly, this has happened multiple times. In the summer of 2017, a computer systems failure caused by human error left tens of thousands of passengers stranded. An electrical engineer accidentally disconnected the power supply to the airline's data center, and when the power supply was finally reconnected, it caused more damage as it was restored in a, quote, uncontrolled fashion, causing actual physical damage to servers and power units. In July of 2018, another big IT failure forced the airline airline to cancel and delay flights, wreaking havoc on Heathrow Airport with a very frenzied scene of passengers running around trying to reschedule flights. Then, in September of 2018, the airline suffered a huge data breach affecting almost 400,000 customers' personal and financial information. So hopefully this is just a series of unfortunate events and not a reflection on the airline's IT competency. Number 4. United passenger dragged off overbooked flight. This story made quite a few headlines in April of 2018 when a passenger was asked to give up their seat on an overbooked United Airlines flight from Chicago to Louisville, Kentucky, and when they refused, well, let's just say a rather disturbing scene unfolded. 3 Chicago Department of Aviation security officers dragged the passenger down the aisle by the arms and legs, and in typical modern-day reaction, it was all recorded on passenger phones. The situation continued to get worse as he continued to resist following his removal and ran back onto the plane with a bloodied face. The scandal led to a publicity nightmare for United Airlines and hopefully served as a lesson for airlines to prevent anything like this from ever happening in the future. Number 3. American Airlines crew get into it with a mom and baby. In April of 2017, an American flight from San Francisco to Dallas erupted in a heated argument prior to takeoff, and of course, it was all recorded by phone. It all began when a male flight attendant pulled a stroller away from a female passenger, accidentally hitting her in the process and nearly hitting her baby as well. The first images of the video footage then show her crying at the front of the cabin with the baby in her arms as the captain and a flight attendant look on. Later, when the employee returned to the plane, a male passenger jumped up saying, "You do that to me and I'll pop you flat," to which the employee angrily told him to stay out of it. And the situation escalates from there when the passenger gets out of his seat to confront the employee and they proceed to physically threaten each other. Eventually, the captain separated the men and the woman and her family were escorted off the plane. The team member was, quote, removed from duty, and hopefully all employees will find more diplomatic ways to handle stroller removal in the future. Number 2. Airport employee punches an EasyJet passenger. Talk about a scandal. In July of 2017, it all started when an EasyJet flight from Nice, France to England was delayed for 14 hours due to a mechanical issue with the plane. Understandably, passengers began to become very frustrated as time passed, and employees didn't communicate the situation or provide updates to the increasingly exhausted and angry people waiting for so long. Finally, the passengers were told to line up for the flight, but after half an hour, nothing happened. A man holding a baby and a cell phone then asked an airport employee how he could contact Samsic, a contractor that assists customers at the airport. Instead of responding, the employee proceeded to shove the phone out of the man's hand, sending it flying. Now remember, the man was holding a baby, so he then pushed him back to protect the baby, and then pow! The worker just clocked him. Of course, the police were called, and while the passenger had a mark on his face, he wasn't seriously injured. And while it was an airport employee who was guilty of this disgraceful behavior, many blamed EasyJet for the eternal delay and lack of communication as the cause for the fight and resulting scandal. And finally, the scandal that everybody heard about, nude scanners. Between 2009 and 2013, the TSA used scanning machines that produced very detailed images of passengers' bodies, which I will not be showing on this channel. These rape-high scan backscatter machines used X-rays, thereby essentially producing a nude photograph of each passenger. While needless to say, there was much public outcry and media attention over this invasion of privacy. In addition to privacy concerns, experts maintain that the scanners weren't proven to provide additional security and were even ineffective in detecting weapons and explosives. Many travelers, particularly the elderly, opted out of the scan but were then very aggressively patted down instead, which led to even more fierce backlash. Passengers even started a campaign with the slogan, "If you touch my junk, I'm gonna have you arrested." Thankfully, after Congress began to intervene with legislative pressure, TSA pulled the scanners, and now agents can only see an outline of passengers' bodies, but not before setting off a scandal unlike any that air travel has ever seen. So there you have the 10 most shocking air travel scandals of all time, and I truly hope you never have to deal with anything like this in your travels. I'd really appreciate you giving this video a thumbs up if you found it shocking and entertaining, and as always, I really hope to see you back right here on Passport Pages.